Alright everybody, so this is the fourth video in my Ghastly Affair actual play. In the first video, we created our character Garrick. In the second video, we fleshed out the plot hook for this actual play. In video 3, the previous video, we fleshed out the three sort of sub-characters, or secondary characters rather. We just needed some basic abilities and assets and afflictions for these characters in order to proceed on to session 1, where we can do our social combat and have our dialogue between all these characters and our arguments and our debate. And so that's where we are now. This video is where we're going to jump into session 1 officially. The real first session of this actual play, and actually get down to some straight up gameplay. We've got everything sort of set up, and now we're ready to go. So without any more ado, let's go on to session 1. All right. Session 1. Who's coming? Who's coming? All right, so we have Garrick. We'll say, first of all, we need to find out if he knows anything about this gypsy. So I'm going to say it's not likely that he knows this gypsy in particular. This gypsy is sort of an outsider, not someone who's part of this social club, this social circle. So we'll go ahead and check some odds on that. I'm going to say bad odds. Does Garrick know her? Oh, okay. So we got yes with an exclamation mark, all in caps. So not only does he know her, he might really know her. He might really know her. They might have a history or something like that. So wow. Okay. If we take a look, I'm going to use this same card that I drew for that odds to maybe give us a sense of their relationship. We take a look at the verb, it's discover. Maybe because this gypsy, again, I keep saying her or she, not entirely set on the gender, but because this gypsy has these divination powers, perhaps he's been seeing this gypsy for the purpose of divination. So if we take a look here, we can just put this on here. Well, we have some notes here. So Garrick, things I want to know. Garrick knows, underline, the gypsy. Visits for divination. I'm going to put in parentheses therapy. I sense it's something like that. Garrick has been visiting this gypsy for divination purposes, and in that process has divulged things about himself. The gypsy has gotten a sense for how he thinks and what affects him. And so does Garrick want this person who I'm going to say he did not expect this gypsy to be here. He gets to this table and he's surprised. He's like, wait a minute, like, what the hell do you have to do with all this? Not someone he would ever expect to see in this circumstance for an expedition either. And I think he feels pretty vulnerable about this person who's sort of from this other side of his life, his sort of like personal, emotional, spiritual side of his life that is the opposite of his profession and his passion for antiquarianism. So I feel like it's highly likely that he would not be interested in this gypsy coming along, or he's at least hesitant. Does he have a negative, not impression, but a negative feeling when it comes towards this gypsy coming along. Let's go ahead and draw for, I'm going to say there's good odds that he feels negatively about the gypsy coming along. Okay, so good odds, also an extreme yes, like yes and. Okay, so he really does not want this gypsy to come along. So as they all have sat down, the conversation has begun. He's been surprised at the fact that the gypsy's there, not surprised that the Libertine's there because that's Alaric's homie. He knows that. This Libertine is infamous. And then he also is not surprised at all that the other Graverobber will be there, though he might take some personal affront to it. He's not surprised by it. He sits down after all the surprise of the gypsy being there is completed, or he's settled in. He's talked to Alaric. Alaric has explained the situation, and he's explained like, okay, I want you, because you're the leader of this expedition, you need to determine who would be an asset, who would be a liability, who's coming along. And he doesn't just want Garrick to determine it. He wants to hear from everybody because he also he feels like he knows better. Alaric is a nobleman. He's hoity-toity. He's haughty. He's arrogant. So he feels like he has a sense, though he does respect Garrick's wisdom and knowledge in what would make for a good expedition party. So I think our first debate is going to be between the Garrick and the gypsy. Garrick is going to be making arguments for why the gypsy shouldn't come. We might want to, at this point, also sort of determine relationships between these individuals, because it may be that the Graverobber wants the gypsy to come. I'm going to assume this Libertine is going to want the gypsy to come because the gypsy is charismatic, a charismatic type of person. The Libertine just really probably just wants to bang everything. It's kind of the sort of person I perceive this Libertine to be. He's superficial, and that's the sort of thing he's thinking about, or he or she is thinking about when it comes to the gypsy, whether they're he or she either. Okay, so we have, I'm going to say we're going to be having the Libertine is basically going to be arguing on behalf of the gypsy. I don't think the Graverobber knows the gypsy very well, although we can ask the Oracle. I'm going to say even odds. Yeah, we don't know exactly. So let's say, does the Graverobber know the gypsy? Yes. Okay, I got a yes. So the Graverobber does know the gypsy. I'm going to say even odds. Does the Graverobber have a positive disposition towards the gypsy coming? And we'll go ahead and see. I'm going to say even odds. Does the Graverobber have a positive disposition towards... Okay, no. So he doesn't have a positive disposition towards it. I'm going to go ahead and say he's just neutral, and it doesn't matter. He's not going to be making an argument for or against this gypsy coming along. Okay, so that gives us a sort of a triangle of who's arguing for who. Is the gypsy coming? That's what's being debated right here. And we have the 4 side is going to be Gypsy and Libertine. And against is going to be Garrick, of course. For whatever reason, he does not want this side of his life to be on this very business-oriented adventure. This very, he does not want this person coming along. So I'm trying to think. I feel like at first, Garrick's going to be the first to make an argument. And I wonder if, I feel like a good way to do this would be to have a track that we're trying to fill. So if we go ahead and do, I don't know, would 5 be too many? Let's start with 4. Let's do 4. A track of 4. And whoever fills up the 4 first wins the debate. And how do we fill it? We could say I kind of, let's see here. I think I want to look at the player's manual for how contests play out. Ability contests. In certain situations, a character's action will be simultaneously resisted by another. For example, a bandit might try to grab someone, but that person will try to break free. Such a situation is resolved with an ability contest, which is a special kind of ability check. And just to refresh ourselves here on debates, the debate will continue until somebody fails. Alternately, a debater can attempt to end the debate by making a final argument, which forces an intelligence contest. Okay, so... yeah, how do I want to do that? Let's just keep reading how ability contests play out. So when an ability contest occurs, the presenter decides which basic abilities the two sides are using. Intelligence, we know from that example. The side with the lower base ability makes an ability check. Okay, so we say the Gypsy has a lower, or the Garrick has a lower charisma. So Garrick's going to do a charisma check in addition to any normal bonuses and penalties. A special contest penalty is applied to the ability score before a d20 is rolled. The contest penalty is equal to half your opponent's ability rounded down. All right. So if the Gypsy has 11 and Garrick has 8, we take 11 and divide it by 2, rounded down, so 5, and the penalty on Garrick is going to be -2, right? Did I read that right? The side with the lower rated basic ability makes an ability check. In addition to the normal bonuses and penalties, a special contest penalty is applied. Okay, so yeah, Garrick would receive a -2 penalty because of the ability score of the Gypsy. If the weaker side rolls under their modified ability on a d20, they win the contest. Otherwise, the stronger side will win. Okay, so the penalty is applied. So basically the difference is that there's this penalty, and on the event of a failure, the other side is automatically successful. Okay, I feel like I understand that more than the first time I read it. If an ability contest doesn't involve a player character, the presenter will just assume that the being with the higher relevant basic ability will win. Remember that a basic ability is always restored to its original unmodified value before the ability check or ability contest is resolved. Okay, a full discussion on the topic of things a character might attempt in the course of the game can be found in the common situations. Okay, all right, so am I wanting to do, so it's like just an ability check for making your argument. You make an ability check for your argument, and you either succeed or fail. Does a failure on the part of one of them result in a success on the part of the other? I don't think so. But then once... maybe there needs to be multiple tracks for how we handle this. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't want it to get too cumbersome. But maybe when you succeed at a check, you get to fill one of these slots, one of the track. If you fail at a check, the other person gets a half of a box filled. So for instance, we'll do something like this, like this is when a box is completely filled. This is when a box is half filled. So failing at your check will result in the other person getting a half. Succeeding at yours results in you getting a full. And then once you fill this track, like the first person to fill the track does a contest. And whoever, if the person who filled the track wins the contest, they win the argument completely. However, if the person who filled the track does not win the contest, the other person gets another shot. Right? And then if their shot doesn't fill it up, this person can do another attempt to do a contest and win. Hopefully that makes sense. Like basically, once you've gotten full, you're just making contests to completely win. And if you lose, the other person can get a chance to reach the end of the track. And but then I wonder what the bonus for having a full track would be, right? Like, does that give you? I feel like that gives you a bonus to your argument, right? Like, it can't just be that you've managed to make a bunch of good arguments, but then the fact that you're terrible at debating results in you constantly failing and the other person succeeding. I don't know. Okay, I think I'm overthinking it, but I think we'll go with that. When you succeed at not a contest, but an ability check, so just your normal argument, you haven't filled up your track yet, and so you're just making a normal argument, success means you fill up a track. But if you fail at making your ability check argument, then the other person gets a half of a track filled. And you just keep doing that until someone fills up, and then they get to make an attempt at winning the argument with a contest. If they don't win the contest, the other person gets to take another turn, and then the cycle just keeps repeating until somebody fills it up and then makes a good final argument to win. Okay, so I think that sounds like a solid way to approach this. So let's go ahead and get rolling. We have Garrick gets to start. Since he's the expedition leader, he will always get to start first. He's going to do an ability check. And again, we're going to reference this list to see what everybody's abilities are and such. But let's start with Garrick. So we're going to make, I think, an intelligence. He's a scholarly guy. He's going to lean into that strength. He's going to be making intelligence-based arguments, which has a base of 12. Now, looking at his special abilities, I don't know that any of them really would play a factor into this, nor would his weaknesses. No equipment, I think. None of the environment adds any bonus to it. His scholarly history and anthropology background or asset, I don't think would add anything to this. Although he could potentially make an argument as such. So let's I'm trying to figure out if I want to say what he's like. Yeah, I think I will. So what he's going to make his first argument on is he's going to take the approach of like making it as not personal as possible. He doesn't want to sort of like let it be known that he has a personal reason for not wanting this person along. He's going to try and frame it from the perspective of the value that this individual could provide to the expedition. And I think he's going to take this approach where he says this gypsy with their sort of like supernatural abilities and their third eye powers would actually potentially disrupt the environment of this crypt, and when you're dealing with these sorts of artifacts and such. He's going to make an argument along those lines, like this could potentially make everything crumble apart. This person with this power could draw in negative forces from the realm beyond. And so that's going to be his argument. So he has to roll 12 plus 3. All right, so 12 plus 3, so 15. I'm just trying to think any other factors that will play into this. So 15. So he's got to roll under 15. Let's just go ahead and do it. Does he roll under 15? 1. Yeah. The argument lands. Yeah, that argument makes sense. Why on earth, if these supernatural... The great thing about supernatural stuff is you don't have to have such solid evidence for it. So making this argument, like just saying this could be the case, that evil spirits are drawn to this power that this person exudes, this could ruin the whole expedition. That's a pretty strong argument. Alaric takes that argument. Now, the Gypsy and the Libertine are each going to get their own chance, I feel like, to go against Garrick here. not particularly balanced, but that's what a debate is, a 1v2 debate, right? I mean, that's the way the cookie crumbles. So we'll have the Gypsy go first. And the Gypsy, if we remember, has a charisma of 11. Now, I don't think that entertainment is going to necessarily... Maybe the Gypsy's approach is going to be... Because I think the Gypsy is going to be countering what his argument was. So she's going to try and... This Gypsy is going to try and sort of destroy his argument from the opposite perspective, right? Like maybe using entertainment or sort of like theatrics to really make his argument seem sort of silly. I think the entertaining is going to play a factor in this. So charisma of 11 plus 1 for entertaining. And any environmental factors, so we're at 12. Do we think there are any environmental factors that will play into this? We're going to say no. So Gypsy needs to roll under 12. Okay, does not... This sort of theatrical approach to debunking the Garrick's argument about the supernatural does not land. And the Libertine is going to jump in and just be terribly charming about the whole thing. And so he's got well-spoken as an asset and Libertine as 12 charisma. That's going to be 15. I'm just trying to think. Seduction or fraud, are those going to play? I don't know if those play a factor into this, although I do... It is worth noting that this argument is being made towards Alaric, who this Libertine has sort of a grip on Alaric's libido. So, do we just go with 15? Maybe the fraud comes in handy here. I think the Libertine is just going to make the sort of like take the more eloquent and intellectual approach to saying this is silly. It's just because someone has divination powers and a powerful third eye doesn't mean they're going to be drawing in evil spirits. So Libertine is just going to, instead of the theatrical approach that the Gypsy took, the Libertine is going to take the approach of just sort of lying and being eloquent about the fact that this surely can't be the case. Where's the evidence that this is the case? Many expeditions take people like this because they are beneficial to the expedition, because they can see things that others can't. So that's sort of like going to be the Libertine's argument, using his well-spokenness and just his natural charisma and his fraud abilities. So that's going to put him at 16. So we got to roll under 16. All right. 19 as well. Okay. Oh boy. It's not going well for them. I think Garrick's argument in the beginning was just that good, right? Like Garrick was able to seriously bring doubt onto the safety of having a Gypsy along with these powers. It's an uncertainty. These powers are not well defined. This is an ambiguous thing that, sure, it could go that way. Who's to know? Like, show me where it's proven one way or the other that this is going to be the case, right? So that was a strong argument Garrick made. So we're back to Garrick, who's going to, again, make an intelligence-based argument. I think he's just going to press his advantage and really elaborate on this. He's been thinking this whole time that they've been talking. He's been really sort of like noticing their arguments and this direction that they've gone in saying that it's silly or that there's no evidence that this is the case, that people have always brought these sorts of people along to help in this sort of thing, like seers and the oracles of old. Like they've always been used for the benefit of whatever goal. But Garrick is going to continue to press his advantage, and he's going to now have in his mind some very specific historical, anthropological sort of examples of where having this sort of person along has created a great foible for, or has been a threat to, or has damaged the expedition, or not damaged, but like has been a hindrance to the expedition's success, right? He's got some stories that specifically from history and from other cultures that show that this is not the case. Like, these people are dangerous to bring along. As much as I kind of personally want the Gypsy to be along, I also kind of enjoy this debate they're having. So he's going to have 12 plus 3 because he's using his history knowledge to build a framework, a factual, example-driven framework for why this Gypsy should not come along. All right, rolling under 15. 8. He succeeds. Garrick, he's smart. He's a smarty pants. All right, and so Gypsy and Libertine get to argue again. The Gypsy is, I think, not going to be using the entertaining. Is just trying to roll under 11. I don't think that there's any sort of boost that the Gypsy's going to get. So rolling under 11. 11. That's a fail. Okay. Man, okay, so I don't know if the Gypsy's coming along, bro. All right, so now it's the Libertine's chance. I think the Libertine is going to just be using the same sort of tactic. Like, he's just going to be really charisma, well-spoken. So he's always got a 15 base, but I'm just trying to see if fraud. He's always using fraudulent. Like, he's just going to be spinning some lies about some other ancient culture. He's going to just try and add counter arguments to, or counter examples to what Garrick just added, but he's just lying about him. So he's got to roll under 16. 6. All right. So our first success for the Gypsy and the Libertine. It's not looking good for them. All right, now Garrick gets to go. All right, Garrick again. What is his argument going to be? I feel like he's not... Maybe he's spent on his history and anthropology examples in this argument. So he's just going to be rolling on his base 12 of intelligence. And we'll see how it goes. He's got to roll under 12. 8. Okay, so he just won. He filled this up. And now he gets to do his contest against... We're going to do the highest over here. So the Libertine. Let's just refresh ourselves on how a contest rolls. Okay. So an ability contest. All right. An ability contest occurs. Okay, the contest is going to be what was the ability in question for a contest? Let's double check again. A final argument which forces an intelligence contest. Whoever wins the contest wins the debate then and there. Oh man. Okay, so the contest is going to be based on intelligence, which means Garrick, who has 12 intelligence, is going to be the higher because the Libertine and the Gypsy only have 10 and 9. So the Libertine, having higher of the two, is going to be the one making the contest here. So 10. And I think I'm going to want... I just like... These characters are going to... If they don't come on this expedition, they're going to come into play in a different affair, I think. Because I kind of like the idea of this Gypsy that has been Garrick's therapist. Anyway, just a nice little final word, because I don't think the Gypsy's going to make it here. All right, the side with the lower rated basic ability makes an ability check. In addition to normal bonuses and penalties, a special contest penalty is applied. Okay, so Garrick has 12, so we take half of that. Okay, so the penalty is -3. So that means the Libertine, instead of having 10, is actually going to have 7. Right? 7 intelligence. And what other penalties will be applied? Well-spoken is going to be applied, so that's going to add 3. And then fraud, I think he's going to use all that as well. So we're going to add 4 to it. So he's right back up at 11. And then the ability check is rolled by the Libertine. Okay. If the weaker side rolls under their modified ability, a d20, they win the contest. Otherwise, the stronger side wins. Okay, so rolling under 11. They can continue trying to make an argument if we roll under 11 here. Ah, 12, okay. All right. Sayonara, Gypsy. All right. Is the Gypsy coming? No. Now we have to decide if the Gypsy is even going to sit. Does the Gypsy still sit in on this? Part of me wants to have the Gypsy still sit in, since the Gypsy has this personal relationship. The Gypsy might be like, I don't know. The Gypsy might be a little upset and wanting to just foil Garrick and hang around to hope foil Garrick, but I don't think that Alaric is going to want the Gypsy around. I think Alaric's going to say, all right, you're out of here. Bye. Okay, so the next person, I think that Garrick, I just don't know how severely Garrick is going to want to exclude this other Graverobber. I feel like he's going to be kind of torn on it, because obviously a huge asset in the skill set, but because he's so antithetical to Garrick's approach to grave robbing, I think I might ask the Oracle, but I'm not going to ask if he's like cool with the grave robber coming along. I think he is going to have a negative disposition towards the grave robber coming, but I'm going to roll to see if he's kind of like he's a little bit torn in his mind about but he would be really useful. Like, it's important to have someone like this along, like, who's really skilled, but he's also kind of like, he's totally like, he's gonna be like he's gonna be the second chef in the kitchen, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like Garrick, here's what I'm gonna assume about this expedition, that aside from these characters, there's going to be a handful of very minor characters, like just like excavators, strong people to do digging, and like whatever little, like the help, basically. There's going to be like a chef along, and like a doctor, but they're all just minor characters. So I feel like Garrick has no reason to really want this grave robber to come along. So I might ask the Oracle, though. I might ask the Oracle if there's a little bit of hesitancy. Is the grave robber coming? So I am going to ask the Oracle here if there is the most minute level of hesitancy from Garrick's perspective. Like, if he's just got a little bit, and I would add that as like, I don't think as an environmental factor, but maybe as like sort of like a weakness that adds a -1 to his rolls. But let's ask the Oracle. So does Garrick have this hesitancy? Or does Garrick, how do I want to word it? Is Garrick the slightest bit torn on actually allowing this grave robber to come? Like, we're assuming the default is he does not want him to come, but is he a little bit torn on that? I'm going to say the odds are unlikely. So there's bad odds that he's a little bit torn. So let's see what the Oracle says. Bad odds? No, he's not a little bit torn. He just doesn't want him to come. That's fine. Okay, so the two that will be arguing for, and I think at this point, the Libertine is going to argue for the grave robber just purely just to be contrarian, just to be like, he's bitter about the defeat in this argument, and he's ready to just argue against Garrick for whatever the case would be. He would just be arguing against him just for the fun of it. He's a libertine, does what he wants. And then the against, of course, Garrick. It's almost like Garrick doesn't want any of these people to come, right? All right, so let's take a look. Is it kind of self-defeating for him to not have these people along? No. I feel like if we were to have them along, they would be sort of conflicting with his desires. So, but no matter what the case is, we're going to have at least one of these guys come along. So if we boot out the Graverobber, the Libertine is guaranteed to come along, right? But if we don't boot out the Graverobber, if Garrick doesn't win this argument, then we can still try and make an argument against the Libertine coming. If that makes sense. All right, anyway, let's get our track. And Garrick gets to start his argument against the Graverobber. Intelligence 12, history, anthropology. I'm not sure that this is going to be an asset in this debate. I think he'll get to use it once. I think he's going to get to use it once. His initial argument here is going to be that grave robbers such as this grave robber, the sort of Birkenhair type, the tomb robbers, have a tendency to draw in more trouble than they're worth, right? Maybe like they have a tendency to not really take care of the artifacts, not really take care of the environment such that bad things can happen. They're reckless, something like that. So that's going to be his argument. He's going to have to roll under 12 plus 3. And I just want to see, would there be any other factors that might play into this? Any other factors? Let's ask the Oracle. Are there any environmental factors that will work in the grave robber's favor here? This could be something like Alaric, and a relationship that they have with Alaric, something like that. Some leverage that the grave robber might have over Garrick. So let's ask the Oracle. Even odds, does the grave robber have some additional environmental boon, which would result in a bane for Garrick, right? Does the grave robber have an additional environmental boon in this? Even odds, yes. Okay, so what could that be? Let's take a look. Identify. Identify. Let's see here. Just to make it interesting, what does the grave robber have? What is going to work in the grave robber's favor in this? Let's see. Let's draw a scale card. I'm going to draw a scale card where 1 to 3 is a +1, or 1 to 4 is +1, 5 to 7 is +2, and 8 to 10 is +3. 5, so right in the middle. So it's a +2, and now we can use these two cards. Identify parent. Ooh, oh boy. Okay, so the grave robber's arguments, and so this will not be a bane on Garrick at this point, But the grave robber's arguments are always going to have a +2 because of the identity of Garrick's parents. This comes back to, if you remember in the first video, Garrick is a haunted heir. He's haunted by the fact that his ancestors, who they developed all of this great success, all of this wealth, but it was all built on fraud, on fraudulent. It's that same word I couldn't think of in the first video. Forgeries. They were selling stuff to all these wealthy people, acquiring artifacts for all these different wealthy people, but it turns out they were delivering forgeries. And so they were disgraced by this, lost everything, lost all their social standing, became very, again, disgraced by this. And so that's the legacy that haunts Garrick. So identify parent, this is, the grave robber is going to lean into this because he knows it. He knows it better than most about Garrick. I feel like the gypsy maybe could have done something like that because of the gypsy's knowledge of Garrick. But maybe the gypsy's just too nice. So, all right. We know that this grave robber is willing to press that sort of advantage. All right, so that's cool. That will come in handy once it's the grave robber's turn. The grave robber gets +2. Okay, so I like that. Did I roll this? No, I didn't roll this. Okay. All right, back to Garrick. Garrick is going to be using his asset in this specific argument, but he's not going to get to use it, I feel like, very much. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So he's got to roll under 15. 1. Man, Garrick is good at arguing. Garrick is a great debater. All right, and so that's Garrick. On to the grave robber. Grave robber's intelligence or charisma. Grave robber's going to use intelligence. Good liar, badly spoken. Okay, so those kind of... I don't know. He's basically, so essentially using this +2, the grave robber he's doing a personal attack. He's doing an ad hominem. And I think good liar is going to help in that. Badly spoken will sort of not, would sort of, I feel like, yeah, these are going to cancel each other out. He's a good liar, but he's badly spoken. That's an interesting set of assets and afflictions. I feel like there's like edge cases where they won't conflict with each other. And I'm not sure if that's going to be the case here. So 9 +2. I feel like since this is an ad hominem, the good liar is going to come in handy, but I don't feel like the badly spoken is going to matter as much. So maybe we give the grave robber like a big boost on this one. Since this is his out the gate, he hasn't had chance to have his like, I don't know. Yeah, so maybe since this is his opening statement argument, I don't know that being a good liar is going to really benefit it, though. So we'll just say neither of these really do anything. We have 9 +2, so he's got to roll under 11. 14. Okay, so that gives Garrick a boost. Libertine's chance. Libertine's going to do his usual thing. I think the Libertine is going to, again, rolling under 16. Charisma. You do a charisma thing. Rolling under 16. 3. All right, so this is a little bit closer this time. All right, now it's Garrick's turn. Garrick, his argument against the grave robber. I think it's just going to be a flat 12. I think he's just got to roll under 12. All right, Garrick, can you make a good argument against having the grave robber along? Oh, all right, 11, just barely. Okay, so Garrick. Now it's the grave robber's turn. I think we're going to go along the same lines where these cancel each other out. And intelligence +2, so 11. Got to roll under 11. 5, okay. All right, Garrick rolling under 12. Wait, no, Libertine. Libertine gets to go. All right, Libertine, again, 12 plus 3 plus 1. So that's under 16. Libertine under 16. Does it. Okay. Okie dokie. All right, Garrick. Again, 12. So this is a little bit more straightforward. It's not as fleshed out. I wonder what sort of arguments, let's consider what sort of argument he would make against the Graverobber at this point. Now that he's sort of on his back foot. He's officially, for the first time, losing the argument. What is his argument against the Graverobber? He's going to go with, I think, trust. Like, what he's gonna bring into question the Libertines arguing for the Graverobber, when a Graverobber is someone who's so untrustworthy, right? This is a person who is in it for themselves. So Garrick is going to try and push this sort of like, what's going on here? Why is this person trying to bring this sort of scummy individual into this? I have all the skills that the Graverobber has and more integrity, right? So I think he's going to sort of go with that angle. All right. But I don't think that provides any bonus here, so... Oh, weaknesses. Criminal entanglements. Yeah, that could have been a negative. I think I will say that his criminal entanglements, secret life, those are applying 2 here. Do they apply -2 here? Because the Graverobber has successfully made arguments against Garrick from the perspective of Garrick's legacy foibles, right? And then also his own personal, like, he's not 100% better than the Graverobber. Garrick is himself a tomb robber of sorts and has done, we've talked about this a lot in the first video, Garrick does do more criminal-oriented things. He just feels very scholarly about his approach to it, so it feels less morally problematic to him. So I'm going to say that the fact the Graverobber class has the weaknesses of criminal entanglements and secret life. Those each are going to be weaknesses in this case, now that he's trying to argue his way out of that. So that'll put him at 10. He's got to roll under 10. 17, okay? That gives these guys a boost. And it's their turn. Graverobber, I think we're just going to go straight forward. Intelligence of 9 plus 2 is 11. He rolls under. Okay, so they officially have won that section. Now they have to do a contest. All right, and so it's going to be an intelligence-based contest. We have the Libertine being the intelligence, the higher intelligence on that side. And then the highest intelligence is Garrick. So the Libertine has to apply that -3 penalty. So intelligence of 10 minus 3 is 7. It's going to be the same as up here. So he ends up with 11 because it's 10 minus 3 plus 4. Because he has fraud and he has well-spoken. All right. He's got to roll under 11. He rolls under 11. Okay, so he succeeds. That means they win. Yeah, that means that the Graverobber is coming along. Yes. Yes, Graverobber is coming along. So now we can make an argument against the Libertine. Because again, we need at least one of these guys to come. But it's still possible now for the Libertine to come. All right, so I'll go ahead and get this one done. And is the Libertine coming? And again, this one is going to have he's going to have a special boost because I'm going to say it's like an asset of his is that he is Alaric's confidant. Like this is someone that Alaric really wants to come, so it's going to be a +3. Like it's got to be +3. He really is. It's going to be very hard to argue out of the Libertine coming along. So 4 is going to be the Libertine for himself, and the Graverobber will reciprocate the assist. Although I don't think the Graverobber really cares very much either way. And then against Garrick. Let's add our little squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. Against 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we've got a win and a loss for Garrick. This is interesting. I think this is pretty cool. So, all right, Garrick's going to get to argue first. He's going to use his scholarly thing every time in this because there's no reason for a Libertine to be along on this expedition. So it's going to be a very factual-based argument. It's going to constantly be like, what do you provide? What do you know about this, this, and this? You know, it's going to be questions that just expose the Libertines' just lack of any sort of non-personal value along this expedition. Like he only has that personal value of being there for Alaric's sake. All right, so that means we're rolling under 15. 18. Oh, didn't land. Did not land. Okay. Basically, what I think that says is that Alaric knows that. Alaric's like, yeah, I'm not having him along because he's going to provide you with any sort of benefit. I'm having him along just to make sure you don't, screw me over. Like he's not here for that. All right, so now Libertine gets to make Libertine's argument, and this is where the Libertine is going to get an extra +3. We'll put it in the asset. Alaric's confidant. All right. Okay, so he's going to make a charisma-based argument using well-spoken, so that's 12 +3. Plus another 3. That's 15, 18. And we'll say, because this is more directed towards, I'm going to say he's using his seduction a little bit on Alaric. So 19. Okay, so literally rolling a 19 or a 20 is the only way that the Libertine will lose this. So let's see. How's it go? 19 or 20? Oh, 16. So he succeeds. All right. He's just like blowing Garrick's argument out of the water here. The Graverobber is going to chip in. I think the Graverobber also gets the Alaric's confidant. Well, maybe not. The Graverobber has intelligence of 9. And he's a good liar. But badly spoken. I feel like this is going to involve lying. Like he's going to lie. He's going to be lying about why you would want a Libertine along. But his badly spokenness is going to counter it. All right, so 19. What was this +2 again? Oh, that was arguments against Garrick. So not relevant here. That was his ad hominem towards Garrick. All right, so 9. It's literally just going to be rolling under 9. Let's see if the Graverobber can make a good argument. He does. 4. All right. Okay. They're really blowing Garrick's arguments out of the water. Okay, so Garrick's argument using the scholarly approach did not work. So I don't think he's going to press it. Maybe he will. Maybe he's going to try the same thing he tried with the Graverobber, where he now is actually going to bring up examples from history of how having someone like this on was a liability. So before he was arguing, why is this person coming? They don't provide any benefit. Alaric was like, I know. They're not. The Libertine's not coming for that reason. Now Garrick is going to try and push an argument that not only that is he not useful, he's actively a liability. So let's see. Garrick is going to be rolling under 15. 2. All right, so that's good. That landed. All right, Libertine's turn again. Only a 19 or a 20 will lose. So 16 again. Okay. Success, and the Graverobber gets to roll under 9. 8. Okay, so they just succeeded. Yes. All right. So we know that the Graverobber and the Libertine are coming along. And I think we're going to stop this session there. And next session, we'll go ahead and flesh out the Graverobber and the Libertine. Figure out who they are they men, women? What other extra assets and afflictions do they have? I may end up doing something different for the Graverobber than the Good Liar and Badly Spoken, because those really do they sort of, again, it's like a very edge cases where they aren't going to be conflicting with each other and just countering each other out. But maybe, well, I'll think about it. What do you guys think? Should we keep the Good Liar asset and the Badly Spoken affliction and sort of try and tease out where these can actually not just cancel each other out? That might be kind of cool, especially if we do something like the actual voyage across the sea. But anyway, yeah, we'll end this here. I think that's long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was pretty interesting. It went more smoothly than I thought, and I feel like it played out pretty well. Like, it really kind of felt like a natural sort of debate environment, and the Oracle worked well, and yeah, I had a great time. Anyway,